Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Abby and today we're going to be home canning some black beans. That's kind of our go-to bean for whatever we need for chili, tacos, I'm trying to think, nachos, whatever you use beans for. We pretty much only use black beans just because that's our preference and it's easier just to keep one thing on the shelf than like 5 different options. So I'm going to can at least 12 pints of black beans. We'll see how it goes. It could be more, it could be less. But I like to can these in pints. That's just a good size for our family, but you can do them in pints or quarts, whichever you prefer. All right, for every pint, you're gonna want to do a scant half cup of black beans. So I'm hoping to do 12, so I'll just do 1. All right, that should be 12. I'm going to rinse these. They say they're triple cleaned, but we're still gonna rinse them just to make sure they're good. If I see any super wrinkly or weird ones, I'll be sure to pick those out as well. We're going to do a scant half cup, so just try not to overflow it too much.
I prefer to can our beans completely plain, but if you wanted to add salt or other spices and seasonings, this would be the time you would add that in as well. I am now filling the jars with some water. Since the jars are cold and the beans are cold, I am using cold water to fill them. I'm also going to then be placing them into the cold canner just to make sure that everything is the same temperature so we have very little chance of any jars breaking.
All right, so I'm just gonna take 1 jar at a time. I will stir it around. This is called debubbling. Just gonna make sure there's no air pockets down in there, and then I'm gonna fill it back up to 1 inch headspace. And if there's any floating black beans at the top, I will take them out.
I also wanted to mention this is technically a Rebel canning method. The approved method does have you cook the beans first and then hot pack them into the jars before you pressure can them. I just prefer this cold pack method. It leaves the beans a little bit more intact, and after some experimenting and researching, it's something that I am completely comfortable doing, but you go ahead and do what you are most comfortable with. At this point, you just want to follow the normal canning process. I like to wipe down the rims of my jars with a little bit of vinegar just to make sure that there's nothing stuck on the rim that could maybe interfere with the seal. We're going through all this effort of canning our own food, so we want to give it the best possible chance to seal and store.
You just want to screw it on until it's fingertip tight. You don't want to like crank it down. You can see I just made some biscuits and gravy. That's my husband's favorite breakfast. So I wanted to set us up for the week to have some breakfast ready. But right now we're doing black beans. All right, I'm gonna use one of my, I don't even know what that's called, little shelf thing, so I can add more. That's the really cool thing about pressure canning is you can double layer it. You cannot do that with water bath canning. So you can fit lots and lots of cans in here. All right, my burner is on, so that's gonna start heating up. When it starts steaming, or venting is what it's called, we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we'll add our little weight to the top, let it come up to pressure, and then we're going to pressure can our pints for, I wrote it down, 75 minutes. If you're doing quarts, it's 90, but we are doing pints, so only 75 minutes for those. All right, my baked oatmeal for breakfast this week is now out of the oven, and we've been venting for 10 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead, put our weight on it, and let it come up to pressure. We've come up to pressure, so we're gonna go ahead and set our timer for 75 minutes. My timer just went off, so I turned off the heat, and we're gonna let this come back to normal pressure, and we will go from there.
Canning your own beans is a pretty simple process, especially if you use the no-soak Rebel canning method like I prefer. Once it's all said and done, each jar does come out to about 50 cents, which is quite a bit cheaper than anything I've been able to find in the store. I also love that you can tailor this to your own preferences. So we like ours completely plain, obviously, but you're able to add salt and seasonings and just kind of tailor it to your family's preferences, which I think is awesome. We did have a 100% sealing rate, which is amazing. That's always a good way to start the day. So now that everything's cool, we're just going to take the rings off, wipe the jars down. A couple of them had a little bit of leaking during the process, which is not a problem at all. Just kind of clean the jars up, take the rings off. I did label them as BB23, so hopefully I remember that these are black beans. I'm pretty lazy when it comes to labeling my jars, so if anything ever happened to me, my poor family is really going to have to decode what is on our pantry shelves. But anyways, now that everything is cool and clean, these beans can go straight onto our pantry shelf, so they are ready for us to use when we need them.